Hello! Have we met? I'm Roth Cornet. I'll be your host for today. And thank God Danielle Radford is here.
Hello.
Steer me in the right direction. It's been an interesting morning so far. I'll catch you up on that later. Starr.
Hi, morning.
Hello. Ed Greer.
Hey.
Here with us. Delightful. We're going to talk about Jumanji, the next level trailer, which dropped this morning. The Rock did a reveal on his own channel in a gym. Did you guys see that version of this?
He doesn't not be in a gym.
Yeah.
No, that's fair. I mean, if you're
shoots
the Rock,
everything
you
in the
got to.
gym, I think, yeah.
Well, I think he didn't need to live in the gym.
Well, no, he owns it. Like he has, not like he owns a gym. Is that like he didn't buy like a pre-existing gym? He had a gym made for himself that is like his gym, and he'll invite friends there.
Yeah. If he was
And
on The
it's-
Office, he would be Jim.
Yeah,
it's all
that's how
Jim
much
all the
gym
time.
it is.
That's how much gym it is.
So is it like live in a gym next to a chicken farm to be the Rock? Is
Yep.
that then you
Yep.
just go eat the chicken and go to the gym? Is that the process?
That's it.
And then poop the chicken, and here we go. Let's talk about that trailer. Sony has released it. This was a massive hit, if you guys will remember. Are we talking about pooping?
No, I just like the Circle of Rock.
Circle of Rock. Yes. This was a massive, massive hit, and there was obviously some twist revealed in this trailer. A way to keep this fresh is that they will not be playing the same characters that they were in the first movie. So if you guys don't know, Jumanji is basically like these kids jumping into these avatars. They're in the world of Jumanji.
It was delightful.
It was delightful. Jack Black, I thought, was particularly hilarious as a teenage girl. Sadly, he will not be a teenage girl in this one. But Dwayne has also switched characters. He's still Smolder Bravestone, but he is the avatar for Danny DeVito's character. Kevin Hart's Franklin Mouse Finbar is the avatar for Danny Glover's new character. And Jack Black is Professor Shelley Oberon is the new home for Fridge, the returning Sherderouse Blaine. And Karen Gillan is stuck with Ruby as Ruby Roundhouse with Avatar for Martha. She's in a new one, which I thought was a little messed up, but fine.
I think he needs somebody to be like the
grounded
runner. Yeah. And I think she's a good character to do it. I think, Karen Gillan.
Well, she
is a
shows
good,
the contrast between who they played before and who they're playing now.
Yeah.
She makes all the jokes work.
I think I just
exactly.
mispronounced a name. So Darius Blaine. Sorry. Anyway, moving on. What did you think of the trailer, and are you excited by this new twist?
I have to sneeze. Okay, I loved it. I did not know that The Rock could do such a spot on Danny DeVito. That was amazing.
Yeah, and I have to admit, so I have a little conspiracy theory, because why wouldn't I have a conspiracy theory about literally anything, including Jumanji? So Jack Black, let's admit it, kind of stole the show in the last movie. He was amazing. And I think probably both Kevin Hart and The Rock wanted to up the ante on what they got to do in this movie. And that's one reason for the character changes. Then the other reason would be to kind of just keep the franchise fresh, and that you could endlessly switch who they're playing. But even from the little bit that we saw in that trailer, they're doing a great job.
Kevin Hart as Danny Glover is. I didn't know I needed either of these things until I was given these things, and now I can't go back.
Yeah.
Look at my thighs.
It's such a weird, just like one little switch over for Kevin Hart to be like, all of a sudden, look at all the range Kevin Hart has. Like I didn't know that just doing a good Glover impression would like make me respect the craft of Kevin Hart that much more. Roth, I'm a cynical monster.
Wait, we're there already? I wasn't even
No. There's a twist.
Oh, good.
Even bigger than the twist where Danielle said she had to sneeze, but then didn't sneeze.
I willed it.
I was laughing a whole bunch watching this trailer in our weird quiet writer's room. I like it. It looks really fun.
There you go. That is a twist on a twist on a twist. I really liked the first movie. I thought I went in with, extremely tempered expectations is how I would phrase that.
I only saw it because you guys were like, yeah!
It's fun!
Yeah!
Why not? Spencer, not Gilbert, but Alex Wolff, the character that Alex Wolff, who, if you guys will remember, starred in Hereditary, a movie that you should see because Tony was robbed. It is a great movie. Go back and watch it. Alex Wolff is great in that movie. And Bethany, played by Madison, I can't do names today. Madison Eisman.
Say whatever names you
the other
want. They
two
won't
kids.
notice.
Basically, she's the teenage girl that Jack Black was playing and the teenage boy that The Rock was playing in the last movie. They're missing. So let's just guess which famous actors are going to be their avatars in the game when we meet them. They're in there somewhere.
They're in there somewhere. Melissa McCarthy, she can be in anything and often is. Maybe one of them is Tiffany Haddish. She hasn't been in this movie yet, but she's going to be in every movie soon. So let's go ahead and get her in there now.
Both of them are Tiffany Haddish.
Two Tiffany Haddishes.
Like
That's the next step.
Like she's got two consoles running at the same time.
Yeah.
They'll find them as Tiffany Haddish and Rebel Wilson just trapped somewhere.
I think Randall Park would be great. I think Constance Wu would be great.
If she can get over her out of her contract.
Well, maybe this was the project that she was really excited about that was going to stretch her. We don't know.
Sometimes you just don't share all your feelings on social media.
Yeah. You don't have to share everything, you guys.
I think Harrison, I don't know, it depends on, do you want the twist to be that a funny person is doing an impression of the person, or do you want the person to be in the game and someone is as interpreted by someone else? Like, do you want Harrison Ford to be in the real world and then you have Randall Park doing an impression of Harrison Ford?
Yes.
Or do you want Harrison Ford in the game doing an impression of Randall Park?
Yes.
Either? Okay, cool. Any direction.
I think probably, look, like I said, Alex Wolff was, again, great in #Hereditary. You see the film. But I think probably they're generic, like teen boy and girl, a little bit, these two. And so the more fun thing was to have The Rock playing an awkward teen boy and Jack Black playing but he really, this is why I liked Jack Black as that character, just to underscore it a little bit, is because he took a character that's so easily stereotypically like dismissed, like she's a ditzy, superficial blonde teen girl, which I frankly hate that stereotype. I don't know why. And he really humanized her. He really made us like her.
They skipped right to the part of The Craft where she's in the shower and she's like, it just keeps
out.
And you're like,
oh God, the humanity.
The humanity.
So whatever they do, I just want it to be interesting in that way. Like, I think that it's less interesting if it's just 100% broad and there's nothing else to it. We have to learn a little bit in our nonsense.
Well, also,
just a tiny bit.
And then Karen Gillan has to dance.
Also, I like the added element of, like, these are old dudes, so yes, you're trapped in a deadly video game, as Ajiza said, with just one man.
Yeah.
Maybe they got three at the beginning, like in the other movie. But the bottom line is, you're trapped in a deadly video game. But that's way better than sitting on my ass with my hip hurting and waiting on waiting on my grandkids to not come see me or whatever their situations are. I think that would be, it's kind of awesome to like show the obviously the first one dabbled on a bit of wish fulfillment for Spencer's character in particular, but like now there's a different sort of wish fulfillment that they're dabbling in this. So it's a graduation of the concept even.
There's I don't know that the game will go this deep. Well, it might, because the Rock's big on thank you for your service, but what if these are two old guys that actually saw some shit? That's an interesting perspective to bring, where all the kids are like, what do we do? And the DeVito character's like, well, when I was in Korea for 5 years, we did X, Y, and Z, and they're just like,
oh, shit. I want him to be actual Frank Reynolds, though, a little bit, just because I want to see The Rock navigate that in a PG-13 movie.
He's up to the challenge.
I do love, like, the character of grumpy, speaking of stereotypes, grumpy old men. I just do. Yes. I think they're funny. I'm
excited to see them, like, learn how video games work, because that's going to be at least 5 minutes of the movie is going to be them explaining video games to old dudes.
Yeah.
And that would be nice if that was also a subverted thing where it's like, we all play video games. It's really great for hand-eye coordination. I love Sudoku or whatever, you know.
It's like they'll play it like the kind of games that they want to play. Like, all right, I'm gonna jump, I'm gonna punch up, I'll knock the bricks down, right? It's like, nah, this is a different type of game. It's like, oh man, okay, like Pitfall. I do swing across the thing like pitfall. You know what I mean?
I do already like the runner that he's just thinks he's dead.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do like. Yeah, again, because that's sort of an old person's interpretation, or frankly, that would be my interpretation of those events. Like this is those last like 7 seconds of synaptic activity as I'm dying.
Yes,
and I built this beautiful world.
You would suddenly be like Neo, though, right?
Oh,
Because
yeah,
you would just be like, there are no boundaries.
When I die, Unicron is going to be attacking something, and I will jump Kit into its mouth and knock his jaw off and save everybody. Yeah. That's my dying fantasy.
That's your last 7 seconds?
Yeah.
What's your last 7 seconds?
My last 7 seconds is definitely surrounded by dogs.
Yeah.
And like that's how I imagine I die, is being smothered by dogs, and I'm just like, worth it.
Corgi butts.
Yeah.
What's your last 7 seconds?
There's like a horde of like demons and stuff coming at us, and my college ska band reassembles at the last second. And
they just like,
pick it up.
I blow my trombone like the Horn of David or whatever in the Book of Revelation, and call forth an angelic horde, but
ska band assemble.
Yeah, but then the power of that holy energy shatters me.
It's like a Joe to your left.
Man, just skanking all of our punches away.
All of that combined and mashed together, but also involving like an endless bowl of pasta that can never give you fats, is my last 7 seconds. And now we're dead. I just got that from Defending Your Life, though. Did you ever watch Defending Your Life?
No.
I did. It's so great.
Defending Your Life is amazing.
It's amazing.
Really good.
And I really hope that's not how it is. Because Defending Your Life, you basically have to look at your whole life on like a big film, and a room of people will judge you in a trial setting, and people will judge you on your past stuff to see if you, through that lifetime, evolved enough to go to heaven, or if you have to go back.
Go ahead. Oh, no, sorry. And you're there with like other people, like just hanging out while everyone's waiting for their trials.
And you can
like
eat
heaven
whatever
jail.
you want, and you never gain weight, and you never get full, is my point about that piece. But the other, hang on, there's an important note about Defending Your Life, Ska Man Joe. And it's this, I think the most interesting twist of that movie, and the thing that I have carried with me into my adult life, not very well though, is that the thing that they're judging you on is how often you were stopped by your own fear versus moving through your fear to do what you wanted to do with your life. Yes, Joe. Ska Man Joe.
What are you talking about?
It's a film.
Oh, I was like, what?
It's like, oh my God, he's talking like we all are talking about
this
religion.
book.
No, we all converted. You weren't here. He wasn't here
on Friday.
The guy came through with the flute and played that beautiful melody for us that we all like so much. And now, you're outside that. Well, okay.
Sorry.
Oh, the special drink. Drink the special drink. We all drink.
No.
Just take a sip, Joe. You know what? We've got a maypole outside and a man-sized basket that you don't have to worry about. Just get in and everything's going to be okay.
It's a wild, wild country here at Screen Junkies.
It's a film with Albert Brooks and Meryl Streep, and it's fantastic.
Okay.
Was it Rob
So
Reiner?
sorry.
Who was that?
I feel like it was right. It feels
It
like
was-
right.
it was,
who was it? Oh my God! This is Old People Monday right here.
Yeah,
We started on Jumanji and ended up trying to explain Defending Your Life
Albert Brooks.
to Joe. It was Albert Brooks. It was an
Albert Brooks. He wrote
film.
and directed.
Oh, he wrote
I
and
said
directed.
Albert
Okay.
Brooks.
And he acted in it, yes.
Yeah,
Let me
that's what I
just
remember.
illustrate this is what happens. You say a thing and no one hears you because they don't care, and then later they say it and then it's a thing. You should hit the That's being a woman.
And you know how sometimes you say something and
And that's what being a man is like, right?
and then we missed the high
I thought you guys were going to freeze frame it.
I see that we didn't communicate that in the bit. Then we just look like betas. Can't even do it. We can't even do
Stop
it.
again.
Pick it up.
And hit that bell. Hit that bell for Fandom. Hit that bell for Fandom. Thank you. Subscribe. Like our stuff. Because we're doing it anyway.
You can't stop us, it turns out.
They've tried. They can't.
You can't stop us.
No, okay. Stranger Things is coming back July the 4th. We're going to be talking about it next
For us
Monday.
guys, only whistles.
different whistles.
Oh my God. I'm the only one here who's seen the specials, friend.
That's fair.
All right. Stranger Things, I don't remember a lick of it. Stranger Things is coming back this week. We have a wonderful article from Matt Fowler on Fandom.com. We have our new Cram It you should catch up to get ready for Stranger Things this weekend. I know I'm going to, and I'm going to be watching it. I think we're going to do a big review next Monday. So stay tuned for that. Also, please, 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 please do support our amazing editor, Randy. Randy's so great, you guys. He does so much around here. He worked with us on the Twilight doc that we did. He was a savior in that. He is an awesome guy. And his son, Isaac, has a rare disorder, and this is for research for that disorder. So please do hit that link. It should be in the description. And if you can, $5, $10, whatever you can do, we will do your bidding for you and say something nice about a movie or a TV show or a finale that we haven't liked. What else will we do, Danielle?
More ska?
We'll do more ska.
We'll get together Joe's old ska band.
Yeah, Joe will get a ska band back together. What are you going to do for us, Ed?
I'll draw a picture of Joe's ska band.
Yeah, I love it. With the unicorns that are in his last moment of life.
Yeah.
I feel like my last 7 seconds would really be just like the last 7 seconds of the last unicorn, and they would just be very, very sad.
Oh, Roth.
Poor Randy, the Sandman's coming. Pick it up. Just one lonely tear, like this.
One lonely checkerboard tear.
What's like slow down, like trailer ska? Is that just reggae?
Yeah. Never
or like
had to knock on wood.
Dum dum.
That's the impression that I get.
Gung gung.
Okay, so we're going to talk about our next story now. That's called
What's a sad whistle?
Transition. A sad whistle. It's just kind of a cat purr.
like a sick pigeon.
Did we
Like the saddest.
If Ryan was here, he's not. Nobody's here monitoring us, which explains everything.
Ska Talk.
Ska Talk. I wonder how many viewers we've gained or lost in these few moments. The Sandman is coming to Netflix, you guys. This has been in development for about 2 million years in a variety of ways. The last of which was they were trying to turn it into a feature film, which, frankly, anybody that loves Sandman knew that would never work as a feature film. With Joseph Gordon-Levitt, David Goyer attached, apparently he still is. But anyway, it's been given a straight-to-series order by Netflix. Wonder Woman screenwriter Alan Heinberg, whose own comic book credits include creating Young Avengers. TV credits include The O.C. and Grey's Anatomy, don't you judge. He will be the showrunner. David S. Goyer and the Sandman creator Neil Gaiman will executive produce. I'm excited about Neil Gaiman obviously being involved. He is currently working on Good Omens for Amazon, and he is Neil Gaiman.
Yeah.
Also.
Yep.
So they shopped this around. DC Entertainment shopped it around, including to HBO, who is their sister company under Time Warner, and they turned it down because the price tag was apparently just way too high.
It has to be.
It has to be massive, and so Netflix was like, "We'll pay. We got money," and they're looking for things. They're looking for properties right now. We'll talk about this again in a little bit. Basically, to I think they're trying to hit the 4 quadrants, but with different series to keep people in. So they're like, they don't have Marvel anymore. All of that is gone. It's going to Disney. Like Disney is taking back all of their properties to either it will be Disney Plus or Hulu or ABC. They're not shopping out any of their properties the way that DC is, which is kind of interesting. Warner Brothers is also coming up with its own streaming service, but they've got things on like Freeform and all this other stuff. They don't seem to be holding back their IP, which is weird, interesting decision. Nevertheless, Netflix is obviously in the business of trying to compete with Marvel and Disney, and trying, I think, to create, because they're going into deals also with like Chuck Lorre from 2.5 Men, so that's like a wider audience. They've got the Adam Sandler movies capturing that kind of audience, and then they're trying to go into kind of like fantasy and niche and like geekdom and comics over here as well. They've got this huge Mark Millar deal that it's still but we've not really seen anything come of that. Anyway, long story endless. I think it's a smart move on Netflix's part to try and grasp onto properties that have big worlds, because that's how you get people more and more and more invested is big worlds. with lots to dive into and speculate on. And speaking of which, dive in and speculate.
Well, yeah, no, and I'm glad that they're committed to spending the money on this, because Sandman is such a, you can't do this small. This isn't one where you're like, let's re-examine and really take it down to street level. This is not the kind of
This isn't Dark Phoenix on a train.
Yeah. This is not Dark Phoenix on the train. You have to be able to have a budget to be able to do all of the, massive surreal imagery. You have to be able to pay for all of the effects. You have to be able to pay for all the makeup effects. You got to add in teeth for eyes and eyes for teeth and all of those things, and that doesn't come cheap. So I'm glad that they've committed to doing it the right way. It is so much better as a series than trying to cram all of this lore in, even into a 3-hour movie. Yeah. It would be impossible.
I can't wait till they get into the Shakespeare riffs. Do you guys want to explain... Nice. There's a fair bit of it, actually. Do you guys want to explain Sandman to those who are not familiar?
Yeah, you guys are more familiar with it than me, honestly.
I got it. So there's these dudes called the Endless, and they are brothers and sisters, and basically they all embody their own, they embody like different parts of emotions and humanity. So there's Destiny, Death, and Death, who is very cute. They have met, Death is the most adorable little goth girl you will ever see in your life. There's Dream, who is the Sandman. There's Destruction, who is
also
retired.
Called Morpheus.
Also called Morpheus. Despair and Desire, who are twins, and then Delirium, who used to be Delight, and no one knows why that changed, but something tragic happened. And so Sandman is our, he's the protagonist, he's the person that we follow. And what's one of the interesting things about this is that these, especially they show it with Sandman, he appears to whatever culture the way that they understand him. So, and he goes by many different names, like all of these kind of do. Like it's, when they open at one point, he's in Africa and he's a black dude with dreads, and like he just appears to you the way that your culture would have it, and every culture has their own kind of stories and lore about this. And so, yeah, this is the story of like him, but they also... Sometimes it's stories about them and their relationship, and then them and their relationship to other kind of otherworldly things. And then sometimes it's these smaller stories about humans and how these different, the actions of these basically gods and other things affect what happens to humans. Yeah. Which is interesting.
Yeah, it's really, if you guys haven't read Sandman, I have the entire compendium in my house. So come on over and borrow it. We'll do a checkout service. It'll be fine.
It's okay.
So it's great. It's really like beautifully written, gorgeous art. Like if you love Neil Gaiman, I know that you do. I think that you will love Sandman. And the other thing too, to your point, that's interesting. You remember when you were a kid and you thought about God? Me too. And I remember when being a little kid, and that is the only interpretation of religion that ever made sense to me.
Hard same.
Was that right? Like that whatever a deity or a god was would just come to you in whatever form your mind was capable of perceiving it. And that when you died, essentially what would happen is whatever you believed what would happen. So choose to believe the right things. And that's my lesson for us today.
Well,
like unicorns and battlements and ska bands.
Exactly. I believe in real big fish. I believe in the power of the song "Sell Out" and their cover of "Take on Me." What I love about Sandman too is you sound like a horny bird.
It's like sad Cardi B. I like it.
It sounds like... No, what you sound like is in Sword in the Stone, where he gets turned into a squirrel, and that other squirrel sexually harasses him.
Oh, Pepe the squirrel.
I love that Sandman is such a classic, and it's like a result of DC being like, you want to do something with this C-list character that we can't really crack, and Gaiman was like, yeah. And then just sort of rolled out this masterpiece around it.
Yeah, and still found a way to like tie it into, what is kind of a goofy character, because the Sandman was originally like a DC character who was literally like a dude who, go into dreams and whatever. Had, I think it was a medallion or something like that. And so they found a way to take this kind of goofy character and expand it into this huge like bit of lore where he's still a part of it. And it's like, oh, well, like he's kind of a part of it, but mostly it's this huge, beautiful, thing. And again, I can't stress this enough. Death is the cutest thing in the world. And if you look up a picture of Death, you're immediately going to be like, I have seen 5 girls dressed like that in my lifetime. Yeah, That's where they got it from.
Yeah. And, I want. This is the only thing that I'm asking Netflix. I assume you're watching. Entity of. We're to talk about their approach in general and sort of the other IP they're tapping into. Just what somebody what? Why the Last Man? Why?
Why the Last Man?
Why not The Last Man?
Well, I think this particular property gives them an interesting platform to, as you guys just talked about, do human stories. Like, and I don't want to just compare Marvel and DC stuff, but there's natural parallels. So, like, Marvel decided to take the Eternals, which are kind of like godlike beings with these eons of history, and they're only powerful enough to really mess with each other, and anybody who would ever test them would die, so it's like this eons long almost family feud between gods. They're going to do it as this movie, and they cast a bunch of big people like Salma Hayek and Angelina Jolie, and they're really loaded for bear, and they're going to do a big old ass movie. Where in Sandman is like, well, there's more opportunity for my character to interact with people, and on a level that even with a bunch of eyes for teeth and teeth for eyes, even with a bunch of that stuff, it's still going to be more subtle and nuanced and spanning.
It's almost a flip on what you would normally, like, at the very just shallow core, when you're like, DC's all big and iconic, and Marvel is sort of more street level and human, and so it's almost a flip of that, especially if you compare Eternals
I think
and Sandman.
It's a really smart move, as everybody at the table agrees. It's a very smart move to take something this expansive and just parse it out, baby. If they can get 14 seasons of X-Files, like, hey, bees. Now we got bees. There was a smoking man. We milked that smoking man for a long time. Then we got the aliens, and then the alien. Now we got bees. Sandman can go 14 seasons probably, and not get into any fallow territory. Not have to add a weird child. You know what I mean? Like a lot of places do. They have a lot of story to go through.
And
no Great Gazoo.
Yeah.
And this is one of those. I'm so excited this is being made, and I'm glad that people get to see it. But it's one of the things that really bums me out because, like, this is the kind of stuff that DC could do when they were really invested in Vertigo. And now that the Vertigo imprint, it sounds like it's going to be going away. We're going to be getting less of this kind of weird, esoteric, experimental stuff. And man, that bums me out because I love the superheroes. I love, the four colors and the tights and fights and the boom, boom, boom and the black and whites and all that stuff. But I'm glad that there is room on the indies for some of this stuff. But, what a bummer that maybe we're not going to be getting so much of this from the big two anymore. Yeah.
Well, I mean, I think as far as the big two go with comics, I think they haven't figured out how to save print yet. And like we sort of made fun of in the MCU trailer, like they started selling off properties because they thought movies would sell comics. And it's like, no, I think shows like this are the evolution you're going to see. We're used to see things like in Vertigo and in Marvel Knights and stuff like that. Those chances will start eventually, I think, with original characters and new concepts that are still owned by Marvel and DC will start showing up like on the small screen first. And that's where they'll really be able to take their chances because, I think, they've proved time and time again, both companies, the base for actual comic books just kind of continues to shrink. I think the only stuff that's really doing super healthy is like stuff that's like directly for kids and things like that. I think some of that stuff's thriving, but like there's not really a whole lot of room to take chances in comic books anymore.
I mean, go ahead.
Oh no, just like you said, just the indies now is kind of where you're really going to see a lot of that really weird, strange stuff. But
well, the good thing about the streaming wars, for now, and eventually this won't be true, is that because there is this massive competition and because Disney does own so many of the huge IPs at this point, I think there is going to be room for like weird stuff on some of the, and clearly there is, and they're willing to invest.
Like Doom Patrol,
Yeah, well, but Game of Thrones was a risk for HBO, They took this series of this unfinished series of books that was written to be untranslatable to television, and they took a risk, and it became a massive hit. And I think Netflix is looking. And by the way, a massive hit doesn't need to be a Chuck Lorre type hit for HBO, and it doesn't really for Netflix either. It just needs to drive brand loyalty and subscribership. They're going to Chuck Lorre for the mass. Chuck Lorre for the mass and Sandman for us, and to stay loyal and tuned in, and like I'm not canceling my Netflix. I have to watch the rest of Sandman.
Well, we've been talking about it a little bit over time throughout all these shows. is the model for making a profit is changing.
Yeah.
You know, and so many companies are competing with like a model you don't even understand. Like people, Netflix is like Batman's cape with all their numbers. You know what I mean? It's like, you can't see me. You know, I'm in the shadows. You know, and I think they're doing that type of stuff. Apple doesn't need to make a profit, like we've talked about ad nauseum. They just need to have it pop up on your phone.
Nor does Amazon.
And Amazon doesn't. So there's a couple big fish that come in and they don't even need to eat. They just come in, hey, what's up, guys? I'm just changing the volume of the pool here, but I don't really even need to eat nothing. So it's weird. It's a weird new ecosystem with new animals that everybody doesn't quite understand yet.
Yeah. Well, do you know Jeff Bezos is spending $1 billion a year on rockets?
What?
Space.
Somebody got to get them packages to the moon.
You know what I mean?
If
That's
you're on
where
the
they're
moon
gonna-
and you
that's
need
where
some
they're
socks.
100% Elysium is on the way. Like, I just want us all to accept our reality of Earth will be a burning hellfire that we will be in.
That's where they're going to put their studios. That's where they're going to shoot Fellowship. Or the Lord of the Rings remake. Yeah.
Will there still be streaming on this Earth?
I think there will.
Okay.
Yeah, but it'll be right inside of our brains.
Except it'll be streaming for food.
Just a bunch of virtual steaks going across your face.
You know what you could do with $1 billion? I'm gonna go.
I know. I'm
gonna
so
go crazy.
Talk about segment, Roth.
Sorry. Go.
No, I agree with you with the weirdness and the chance taking. Like I do think we'll see a saga series directed by Noah Hawley or something like that at some point. Oh, horny cartoon squirrel. She loves saga. I think, and some of the creators that are going to win in this, I think are really cool. Alan Heinberg is amazingly talented. I think that's such a cool name to attach to this. Young Avengers Children's Crusade is still one of my favorite Marvel stories of the past.
But for those who want to say...
Has it been 15 years since Young Avengers came
out? Yeah, it's about 15 because I was around the same time as Runaways.
And the other thing, too, is like he's got such deep roots in television. I know that some people will probably have judgments around Grey's Anatomy and the OC. However, that was addictive TV, ladies and gentlemen.
Also, Scandal. Don't get me...
don't even...
I'm sorry, at this table, we respect Shonda Rhimes.
Yes, we do. And you will watch your mouth. But I think it's very exciting because he has this combination of understanding how television works and how addictive television is created, and then also comics. So Sandman's very different than Scandal, but
but this is a guy who knows how to tell very different stories in very different mediums. I think, and I think that's the key for Sandman is that. There are elements of everything that he's worked on that can mix and sort of coalesce into a really cool Sandman series. And he's just done like a variety of things. Because at first I was like, you know what, I think a better fit for this would be like a Noah Hawley or something. But that might be a weird hat on a weird hat.
Double mumbo jumbo.
Yeah. But I think Heinberg's just done so much different stuff that I think it'll mix together really well.
I think you're right because I mean I love Noah Hawley. You and I both love Legion, but I think you're right where it's like at what point are you just explaining the joke? Like he just you know he takes something that seems although Fargo the television series is very much tonally in line with Fargo the movie. Noah Hawley's a genius. He could do it. I take back everything I said. However, I'm still excited about this, and I'm excited about Sandman happening. Period. It's hard. It's going to be a tough one because we probably all have versions in our mind already of what that should look like. So.
Oh, can I one last thing? The thing about them not doing it on their own service. Can we talk about that? I think it's because that company, and I'm going to give DC some props. I think that company understands that their own personal infrastructure for making these things might not be that super dope right this instant. Well, they still have people that they trust. These are DC people through and through. You're your mother through and through. They got Goyer and Heinberg who both understand DC characters and have been working on DC characters for a long time. And people might scoff at Goyer. Goyer is just he's like Kurt Rambis from the old Lickers. He's like, hey, he's got glasses. He grabs the boards. You guys don't understand what I'm saying. But the bottom line is sports ball. There are people who make the team work. Maybe they're not the greatest at everything, but they make the team work. David S. Goyer is that guy. He can make the team work. I don't think some of the things that have happened with DC.
He's not going to have a ton to do with it.
Yeah, of course.
I think he was attached because he was attached and he couldn't get out of that deal, portion of the deal. But creatively, I don't think he's going to be the guy.
I don't think it happens in this exact same way if he's not involved at all, name or not. Just putting your stamp on it still leaves ink on the paper. Yeah, that's all I'm saying.
Well, the interesting thing about not dumping this into whatever Warner DC service is. Licensing has always been such a strong part of the Warner Brothers model.
Yes.
Mm-hmm. That's been their game forever, and I do think that's really interesting that they still see value in that while everyone else is going to be shoring up and retreating to Helm's Deep. I do still think it's interesting that they're going to still be sending out little mercenary companies here and there.
50% of something is worth more than 100% of nothing.
Yeah.
And if you know that on certain properties you don't have the bandwidth or the time, just like us as freelancers, us as human beings, as artists, sometimes you pay somebody to stretch the damn canvas so that you can go in there and do your thing. Do the thing. Go to the framing place so you don't have to pound that out of wood. You have to do the painting and the framing. Damn, dude.
Well, I think it comes down to Netflix was willing to drop a ton of money on a property that is heavily risky and that they in 20 years have not been able to crack, and they said we'll pay for you to try.
And if
why not?
Yeah, and if they
probably hundreds of millions of dollars,
and just availing themselves of all those places that don't need in the conventional way that they would or other places.
The math doesn't work because if they had tried to make that risk themselves, like the juice is not worth the squeeze with the subscriber base on on. What's it called? DC All Access, DC Plus? I can't remember.
DC All Access.
DC, okay.
Yeah. Which is a great comic book reader, by the way.
But that's kind of it for now. I mean, like cool stuff, but it's still a very niche group of subscribers, and there's no way they drop all of this into that in the hopes that they get a handful more.
No, they're not. And that's not right. When they launch their service, they're going to have to launch the way that Marvel is with their big guns in order to drive subscribers. And Netflix is taking a different approach at this point because they are the one that you already have that you can easily, they would have to become so boring and useless for you to remember to cancel Netflix, right? It's like the foundation thing. All they're doing is reminding you why you're giving you more reasons not to forget, to watch Netflix.
Because I think Final Fantasy will end up there too.
It may. Sony Pictures Television is making it. Maybe it'll end up there. Maybe it won't. There was the company that's doing The Witcher, who's producing The Witcher. I believe it's called Hivemind, is also producing Final Fantasy. So there's a possibility they also have a relationship with Amazon because they do The Expanse. On Amazon, so who knows? So The Witcher and The Dark Crystal are coming to Comic-Con via Netflix. They're going to Hall H, and it's really interesting because we've been talking about their approach, and clearly these are two series that are leaning into that approach. Plus, they have Henry Cavill in The Witcher. And so they've got these IPs that have some kind of attachment. They're big fantasy experiences. This is a prequel, not The Witcher. The Dark Crystal is, is a sequel, which means we don't know what's going to happen. Everybody's chasing Game of Thrones. But again, I think with Netflix, it's really not that. It's just banking. They've known for years they had this competition coming probably, right? Like Disney hasn't made it a secret. And so now that they've pulled out and now that Warner Brothers is pulling out, they're just banking as much as they possibly can to keep you on their service, to keep you subscribed and not canceling when they go up 50 cents or $1, which they did pretty recently, and we didn't, right? Like I didn't.
Nope.
I still think of it as the must-have, and it's the other companies that have to convince me that they're must-haves.
Yep.
Disney is probably
so you're
not
right.
hard.
Almost any amount of expenditure is worth keeping that market share. I mean, nobody, to the best of my knowledge, nobody else, not even Apple, has a push the button. Maybe Apple does now, but push the button for me on your remote that you bought for your TV independently.
Yeah,
they're on buttons on our remotes. There's like a Coke button in your car.
No, it is. I mean,
they
just have to stay. They basically what they're fighting now, I think, for is to maintain in a world in which all of these licenses are being teared away, which is a big deal for them. But this is the answer, and it's it's the combined approach of like, if you think of them, they don't have the brand identity that Disney does, but they also don't have the confines of that brand identity.
I liked. I'm projecting a lot onto a very simple Hall H announcement, but I think it's kind of cool in that I feel like, Marvel and a lot of the big guns are, when they come in and do announcements like this, they're just going to be like, we're Marvel. Like, like it's a foregone conclusion. You know that this is a big deal. Like, welcome to our room. Here's all the stuff. But this is Netflix kind of bringing in two lesser known properties. And I feel like this was supposed to be the point of things like Comic-Con. They're bringing in two lesser known properties, and they're like, these matter. Here's why they matter. And I think that's cool. I think that's a really good strategy, because I think another hurdle they've got across is the same one that the movie theater chains are going to have to continue to figure out how to cross. Is like, how known is the IP is going to start being the only thing that matters. So I think they've really got to start coming in and making those sale pitches as to, like, the Dark Crystal might not be an IP that you know right now, but make some room in your little nerd heart for it, because you really, really should.
Well, and Hall H is a sunset billboard.
Yeah.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It indicates a certain amount of company goodwill and company good faith in said product for them to buy such heavy real estate. So, yeah, and I think it's a good use of Hall H, since a lot of the big boys were just like, I'm abandoning this cave, and then you set up shop in there. I'm sitting on some gold. This is awesome.
Yeah. We will bring you Muppets.
We'll bring you Muppets.
And you will like them. Yeah.
I like these Muppets so much.
Yes, I do.
They're good Muppets. Yeah, no, that was exactly the point that I was going to make, because there aren't as many huge things that are coming. Or now people are doing these activations, which we saw a lot of activations last year all over set up, where people are like, well, I'll just rent out this restaurant, and this will be where we set up, and then we don't have to pay the money or do anything like that. And so it is them saying, like Joe said, like, this is something that we need you to pay attention to, so much so that we're going to make sure that we have it in the place where you know that you need to be. We're not just going to put it, on the side of a hotel, which there were a bunch of those last year, where they were plastering some on the side of the hotel, or you would walk by and there would be someone like, come inside this maze for, this motorcycle gang show. They're saying, no, you need to be in Hall H.
Yeah.
You need
Is
to
that
treat
a
this
real
like anything
thing?
else.
Sounds right. It tracks.
The Mayans had a lot of weird stuff that they did outside last year.
I would go in that maze, but I agree with all of you. Comic-Con has changed. It's drastically changed. The studios have changed. They're not willing to spend the money, and I think that they've done probably the cost benefit analysis, and it doesn't really net out for them at this point for a lot of the studios, and they're just not going. Marvel is. Why? They're probably going because they're saving a lot of stuff at D23 around for a big plus push, and then they're going to talk about the MCU movies. At Comic-Con, they're going to own the weekend as a result, but Netflix is also taking a little bite out of it. Good for them. We look forward to the fact that we get weird stuff because people are that's what this competition means.
They're taking their shot. I think this is literally just for me and Danielle, but in wrestling terms, John Cena's injured, so Kofi Kingston gets a chance to come in and go, I get to main event, yay! And like get in there, and
I did not understand that reference, but I did enjoy it. And I also agree with what the competition means. What any competition means is that there's room for creativity to blossom. It's why on television over the last 50 years, everybody's been saying, not 50 years, over the last several years, we've been in this golden age of television because competition broke it open and meant that you had to do different things and not just try and copy the other successful guy.
Everything can't be Law and Order.
Yeah.
Most things can be, as you can see on network television, but not everything.
But that's why we get Fargo, and that's why we get Legion, and that's why we get Better Call Saul. That's why we got Breaking Bad, because there was room for people to compete for a share of the market, and they did not have to earn the kind of ratings that you do on network television.
Well, do you think it's going to breed like this? And when our kids have kids, do you think TV is going to be a combination of high and low shows? Like every show is like Breaking Bad, NCIS. Like half of it is a really good show and half of it is a really stupid procedural.
Right now.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think we're there. And by the time we get to where you are, there is no TV. And it's all, they're watching just somebody else talk about their day directly into a camera.
Honestly, at that
JoJo
point,
Siwa and then,
I don't know.
Breaking Bad reboot.
The time that you're talking about, I'm pretty sure we're all dead and it's Elysium. So I congratulate those of you who made it to space. Jeff Bezos, I presume. It'll be like the weirdest consortium of like Jeff Bezos and like Elon Musk and a bunch of models. So I look forward to the new generation of humans.
Could poor people ship themselves to space?
maybe it's the type of thing where you have to like, maybe it's like a Running Man like battle, like you have to battle.
And even then you just get to
like, or is that like Alita? Like you have to battle out on roll.
And even then you just get to be like a waiter.
Just, like,
Battle Angel Amazon?
Yeah.
No. I don't like that.
And then you get shipped to space, but it's only to be like turned into food.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Does that sound right to you?
That tracks.
Amazon chow is made of people.
All right. It's been a weird,
Crime
wacky
is
Ska
people.
Monday, so I will take ownership for that. I will also say we have Tom Holland coming up here, ladies and gentlemen. Tom Holland is coming at you in just a moment, but before he does, I want to say once again and very sincerely, thank you to the Screen Junkies community for continuing to be amazing and supporting Randy and his family. They asked that we deliver a message of sincere thanks to you guys, and I want to thank you guys because it really is. It's very humbling to see how kind this community will continue to be and supportive. So thank you for that, as always, in all sincerity. And Tom Holland, Spider-Man, our own Ken Taylor Foster, went to the Spider-Man Far From Home junket, and this is what happened. Pick it up, 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 pick it up.
The world's in chaos. I need a new team.
I've got this.
I've got a lot of fan questions today because I'm from Fandom, so I've gathered a lot of questions from the community. So,
Meaning what? These are not my questions. That's what you're saying, huh? You're not taking any blame for this.
what do you think your character's best and worst traits are, and what would you change about them if you could?
I think Peter Parker's best trait is that he always puts other people first. But I think his worst trait is that he always puts other people first. That he sometimes can't recognize that he needs some him time, and he needs to have a little bit of self-love and look after himself a little bit more.
I kind of do the same thing. I think my character's honesty is what like makes people like pushes people away, but it's also I think what
Really
makes her
cool
so
about
special.
her, yeah.
Ned really is like happy-go-lucky and everything, and sometimes he needs to be a little more serious. So
Yeah.
another double-edged thing.
Best and worst, same one. His paranoia.
Paranoid. And is there anything that you would change about him if you could?
No. Not really.
Do we need to see the extra footage in the new version of Endgame to understand certain aspects of Far From Home?
What extra footage?
Well, they're re-releasing it in cinemas with an additional scene on the end.
Oh. No.
How much would you think a Spider-Man suit would cost in real life?
I think they cost like $130,000.
That would be priceless.
I think.
If they worked.
Oh, what if they would actually work?
Yeah.
Oh, millions of dollars. I think the cost of making a suit, because like the sheer craftsmanship that goes into making them, the crazy amount of hours that are put in. I mean, Robin, the head seamstress, she kind of oversees a team of maybe 25 people. And they're all so incredibly talented, and the hours that go into making one suit. I could be pulling this number out of A Place Where the Sun Don't Shine, but I think it's $100-something thousand a suit.
If you could customize your own suit, all of you, what would you add to it?
A zipper so I could go to the toilet. That would be the big one for me.
If I was living in a perfect world, it would be like, you know, the Black Panther thing where he has, and it just kind of is like
Oh
a
yeah,
thing, and there's kind of.
Do you think when he goes to the
looks a lot
toilet,
more
he's able to
comfortable.
just get rid of the bit he needs to go to the bathroom?
I don't know.
I mean,
I'm sure he can.
I'm sure he can.
sure he
Yeah.
Sure, you figure.
Yeah.
Yeah.
What would you want to bring in the future for Nick Fury from the comics?
Now that I know he's got a family, maybe we can see what that plays out as, and we'll figure out where they go from me to whoever Nick Fury Jr. is. Whoever that is.
So there was a question about bringing Nick Fury's brother in.
Really?
Would you want to see him go in?
Sure. Give everybody a job.
Which superhero would you like to team up with in the MCU?
We were talking about what was the character's name yesterday? She's like an Iron Man character from the comics. Her name's like Ironheart.
Yeah, Riri.
Riri.
Yeah.
She'd be a cool person to bring to the big screen.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah, if there's someone in the MCU that I could team up with, I'd like to team up with Hulk.
Why?
Because he's so funny, and they're both, science geeks, and I think they'd have a really good time with each other. And I just think Spider-Man and Hulk would be a really funny duo.
Nick Fury has had pivotal roles in 2 major MCU films this year.
That's it? Oh, this year. Oh,
this year.
All
This
right,
year.
all right.
How would you want to see Nick Fury's character developing? Could he take on more of a mentor role?
As he says in this particular film, I used to know everything, now I know nothing. But what I do know is Tony Stark says that you are the guy. Spider-Man is the person that can be the next future of whatever it is I'm trying to put together from that point on.
You going to step up or not?
And right now he's busy being like the cranky relative that wants you to grow up, get a job, and stop, put down these childish things because, you have a great responsibility. And the kid's busy trying to be a kid, so we'll see where we go from there with that.
He's going to have to soften his attitude.
Not really.
No. He needs a whip.
Somebody's got to make him toe the line.
It's true. How much does Peter understand the concept of the multiverse?
Interesting.
And how would you want to see the multiverse explored further down the line?
I don't think Peter understands that much about the multiverse because, he hasn't explored it yet. I think he understands how it's possible. And, the multiverse opens up so many doors where we can introduce so many cool new characters like Ironheart and stuff like that, if that was ever possible. So I think it would be a really, really cool way to explore different dimensions and different characters.
And maybe like a hooking up of the Spider-Verse. Do you think you could have an animated character in the MCU?
I think we could do it the other way round.
Yeah.
I think we could do my version of Spider-Man going into the Spider-Verse. It would be a little complicated, but I think I'd go into that franchise.
What was Goose doing? Where was he between the end of Captain Marvel and the beginning of Iron Man?
He was in my office, apparently. There's all that stuff. Even though we never saw him, he was around. We got the thing back somehow. I walked in the office, he'd thrown it up, it's sitting on my desk or whatever, so.
Which villains would you like to see in the MCU? There's your character in the comics, Hobgoblin. Would you ever want to play?
Yes, I do. I'm saying it. I'm saying it outright all the time, and no one's taking me seriously.
I'm listening. Maybe with the multiverse, Ned in the multiverse, the other Ned is really bad.
Oh.
So why can't it
So
just
you
be
could
me?
play both Neds. You could be like Happy Ned and Angry
bad
Ned.
No one wants that. So
I want it.
What was your favourite moment playing Nick Fury throughout the MCU?
Probably in Winter Soldier when I was in that car and I had such a good time, fighting those guys off in the car.
It's a good scene.
Yeah.
The world needs the next Iron Man.